have ever played Doctor Doctor as kids? Raise your hands if you ever had. Wow, a majority of you. Wasn't it so much fun playing it? Today I'm going to share with you something that happened to me a long time ago. It might make some of you feel uncomfortable, but I'm also going to tell you ways in which you can protect it from happening to your children. So let's get back to Doctor Doctor. I used to love playing that game until he inserted his, and I didn't even know what to call it then, penis into my, and I didn't even have a name for it, vagina. We were kids. I was completely shocked and taken aback. I trusted him. He was my teenage cousin. I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't have the words to express it. And so I kept it a secret for 30 long years from my parents. I never told anyone about it, but I never forgot about it also. So let me ask you again, have you ever played Doctor Doctor as kids? Now think. Have you ever been sexually abused while playing it? It's okay if you're not ready to share it yet. It only took me a lifetime of work to stand here before you and share my story. So, why now? Why am I sharing this now with you? Now, because 109 children are being sexually abused every single day in our country. Now, because I finally have the courage to stand before you and share my story. It's happening in our houses and sometimes right under our eyes without us knowing anything about it. Do you remember what happened? Do you remember the person who did it to you? The chances are you probably do. Did you tell your parents about it? I couldn't. I was scared they would scold me, like somehow this was all my fault. So where are we going wrong as a society? Are we as parents failing to teach consent culture to our children? Are we forcing them to hug uncles and aunties they don't want to? And most of all, when our own child musters up the courage to share with us about an inappropriate touch they experienced by a loved or trusted one, we do one of two things. One, we tell them you're lying. We blame or shame them. Or two, we shh. Because we are too damn worried about the honor of our family. Log kya kahenge? What will people say? But by doing that, we are failing to create a safe space for our children. We are failing at protecting our children. So in 2012, when the horrific gang rape case of Jyoti Singh Pandey happened in New Delhi, it completely shook me. The brutality of it just shook me. If it could happen to her, it could happen to any one of us. Just that thought angered me. I no longer wanted to be a silent bystander to the atrocious crimes being committed against the women and girls in our country. And that's when I decided to actively do something about it. I decided to educate women and girls against violence. Teach children the difference between a safe and unsafe touch. That intent of mine gave rise to my organization, Sayfty. Say something against gender-based violence. So 6 years later, and after having worked with thousands and thousands of women and children, one thing is very, very obvious. Child sexual abuse is an invisible crime that is crippling our children. While organizing self-defense workshops in more than 16 countries around the world, we have heard such heartbreaking stories from young women and girls who have been sexually abused. In fact, I remember we had just finished a safe, unsafe touch workshop in a small town in India when a young dad walked up to me. And he told me how he had been raped by his uncle when he was a kid. I was speechless, completely shocked. And this was one of the many, many stories we have heard over the years. Through our online conversations, which are now reaching more than 3 million people, we hear from parents often asking us how we can have these conversations with children. We hear from survivors, including men and boys, about the challenges they face in sharing their stories because there is so much shame and stigma in our society. While so many people have experienced child sexual abuse, very few are openly talking about it or doing anything to prevent it. So as a survivor and someone who works with women and children daily, let me tell you what we can do. Parents, teachers, and caregivers, listen. Listen to your children without judging them. If a child ever discloses to you about an inappropriate touch or shows signs of abuse, please believe them. Remember, it's never a child's fault. Children often do not have the vocabulary to express their abuse. Child sexual abuse is a crime reported, period. There is no two ways about it. Children don't lie about sexual abuse. In fact, in 98% of the reported cases, a child's statement was always found to be true. By the way, do you know the act in your country that seeks to protect children from sexual offenses or pornography? In India, it's called POCSO. Look for signs. Unfortunately, abusers are amongst us. They are distributed equally across all stratas of the society. So if you see someone spending inordinate amounts of time with your child, use it as a red flag. Look, 3 decades ago, maybe your parents, like mine, didn't know how to talk to us about sex, consent, etc. But for how long are we going to use this as an excuse to do the same to our children? Today, I'm a mother of a 4-year-old girl. I know how difficult and awkward these conversations can be, but protecting our children should be our first priority. So here is what I teach my daughter Dia through a safe, unsafe touch conversation. 1, I teach her boundaries and affirmations like, my body is my own and I am in charge of my body. 2, I teach her from time to time what a safe touch feels like. It's a touch that makes you feel warm and comfortable. 3, just like I teach her head, shoulders, knees and toes, I also teach her the names of the private parts of her body, which means a vagina is a vagina and not a funny or cute name. And 4, if anyone touches her private parts of the body, she needs to scream, no, run away from there, and go tell a person from her trusted circle, someone she trusts completely. Are you in your child's trusted circle? Look, I know our culture teaches us that we must respect our elders. But what we must respect is a person's behavior, not their age. If someone's behavior is not appropriate, we need to speak up. As adults, it is our responsibility to protect our children. So today, I ask all of you to take this information and share it with the universe, because our children deserve happy and memorable childhoods. Thank you. Thank you.